racism is taught.
If you go up in an area that is like 99.99% white, you know you're black.
Yeah.
You just want to be given, and you want it to be fair, and you want it to be equitable.
The stats don't lie.
We have definitely listened. We are not without talent. We are, however, bereft of opportunities.
It's quite traumatic. It's really difficult, life and death for me, and I've experienced it, and most of us have.
What's your ideas on the need for merging new, fresh, dynamic individuals?
There aren't enough coming through, so we need the next generation now. We really do.
What's changed then, El? Because, you know, I feel like when I look back at even like recent history, it seems like there was a lot of leaders. There's a lot of people, even in communities, but even wider than that, that seemed like they took the mantle and they did speak for the community, as broad as that term can be, because I don't think it's just geographical. Do you know what I mean? What's changed?
I think events and situations create that platform for people to take on that role, and we've become so, I think, as communities, I think we've become so disenfranchised with the life chances that we have and with our politicians and things. If I'm really honest, sometimes when you do speak up as a member of the community, you have to be careful because you feel like you don't want to be a gatekeeper, and it takes a bit of backbone, and you've got to be strong, really. And I think some people like myself, I wouldn't get involved in politics. I've been asked to get involved in politics, but that's not my passion. That's not what I'm about. What I'm about is the work that I do in the area, and I think there aren't enough people that are interested in taking that lead. First of all, obviously, I think it's important to realise and recognise the history that the city has, looking at careers and looking at opportunities. Like, it's a massive thrust of what we do in school. We have so many talented individuals, so many talented people. We have definitely listened. We are not without talent in them areas. We are, however, bereft of opportunities. There's nothing that mentors them from school into companies. Yeah. And I think that's what's massively missing, that we need. They say it takes a village, to raise a child. And I think everyone needs to play that part. I can't be doing what I do for there then to be a door shut in the face of the kids that I'm convincing to get on with their education, to get themselves an opportunity. I'm sure Neil at some point may want to go into football management, but it's not going to be worth Neil doing all them courses, taking all that time away from his family just to not get the opportunities. Like, Neil's played at every level. He's overcome like so many hurdles to be where he is today. And I'm not just blowing smoke, because I've seen him in every part of that journey, and I've had conversations with him, and I know the experience that he's got at the different levels of the game. He knows what there is in every aspect of the game. So he's not just someone that's like the captain of a team in the Premier League, and then the manager gets sacked, and then he by default falls into that category. Neil will probably start from the bottom, hopefully with Kingsley, and then he will move up and take his journey and then hopefully get somewhere. But there's no guarantees. And to take 2 steps forward, I'm definitely going to have to take 1 back. And for our kids to get recognition, they have to be the very best. They've got to be ahead just to be recognised. And I really feel like that's the problem right there.
To be fair, like Al said, that was exactly what happened. I remember thinking to myself, and even looking back now, I do think to myself, like, I was sort of lucky in a way, because when I went into Liverpool, I was the only black player in the team. You look through the academy, there was no black players there. I think there was me and John Otsemabo, and apart from that, there was no one else. And it did used to stick out to me, because I used to go and play in the Methodist, play in the Rods, play, like Tony will tell you, we used to play there every night, and there was kids that were just as good as me. Do you know what I mean? If not some of them better in my eyes. Like, I know some people might say different, but I used to play with people and think, well, they're competing with me every day. Like, they're giving me tough games. And I was seen as one of the better players at Liverpool, which is obviously why I ended up getting picked to go to Lilleshall. But I had friends who could compete with me, and none of them were really ever given an opportunity. And it actually, funny story, I remember once taking Leon Wong in with me to a trial, and like obviously being where I was from, and we had that fierceness sort of thing. I remember just saying to Leon, look, just come to training with me and say someone sent you. I say Roy from the Rod sent you, and I'll say I know you. And I took him there, do you know what I mean? And like, we blagged it. we literally blagged him into Liverpool. But I remember just thinking, not that he was good enough, do you know what I mean? That was just, I wanted my mate to come and train. But I remember at the time thinking there was so many players that could have went in and fitted within my team, and they wouldn't have known no difference. But the opportunity just wasn't there.
He's doing himself a disservice. I've played with him since the start, and no one was as good as him. He was by far the best out of all of us. So he was brilliant, and we knew he was going to be a professional footballer. But one of the things I'll say that's done there, that's a massive point, is in today's community, there is no places like the Rodney. We don't have places like the Rec. The youth centres are gone now, and this is the most important thing that I want to get across in this conversation, is that, as I say, when we were all growing up as kids, there was these avenues, these places that we went to, and it didn't matter whether you was black, white, yellow, pink, green. We all just came in these places and came together as one. No one's seen coloured in these places, and everyone just got on and played sport, because throughout sport there is no segregation. There is no, it's just a sport, and it brings everyone together like an Olympic Games does. This is what youth centres used to do on a much smaller scale, that these youth centres have gone, the communities. All these places, the Rodney we lived in, the Rec, there's the Unity that I used to go to before Alfie's, there's the Meth, the Blackie, there were so many places, the Artill even sometimes we go.
I would have known me probably since I was being 16, 15, Aubrey, people like that in the community. I played for Henry Mooney in the Toxic Tigers programme when I was 14. Henry recruited me, so to speak. That changed my life. Everything I do in business now has been learned through sports, and pretty much it's been Henry Mooney who's taught me. Anytime, like I've got like 3 different organisations, I know that my approach is based on way Henry approached teaching young people or developing young people. The academy, which I run for the council, the music academy, I run it like Henry ran Toxic Tigers. Do you know what I mean? So as much as the outcome I think is important, and some of the intangibles are critical, the focus shouldn't be young people not making it or making it, even though a lot of them, that's what they want. I still think it's also about those skills that they learn, knowledge of themselves. Do you know what I mean? The slavery trail and all that stuff, Henry Mooney put us on it, took us to the police, give us advice, brought a lawyer in actually, and give us advice on stop and search and stuff like that. So before anything else, I want to say, like, I think the impact of young people doing sport or creative activity should not always be measured on did they go professional, because for no group in the world is that a given. If you go up in an area that is like 99.99% white, you're black very clearly every single day, because there's no safety net. The only people I'd see that look like me will be in my family. And I think it helped me to some degree, because I never had a fear or a anxiety of speaking to anyone of any race or position. It is a challenge. It's a different challenge. I was lucky enough that, my mum's Jamaican, my dad's African. We got a strong family, a wide family. So I'd always be consuming that culture, obviously. With the Tiger situation, I got to kind of build friendship groups within. It was a challenge.
How important is that, to have international acts come to this city, have people feel connected? The creator of Liverpool International Music Festival put on for the city, by the city.
I never had a relationship with the City Council. We ran Airbeats for 5 or 6 years. City Council's never funded any of the organisations that we've ever run. They give us money when they've asked us to do something, which I consider a commercial exchange, but they've never come to us. We've never been one of those organisations that every year gets money and is come and go in for this thing and all that. But one of the reasons I was interested in that situation, everyone's got a perception of Liverpool and as a music city, and this was kind of going like, we need to change it. And my whole thing was, well, it's got to reflect the people, hasn't it? The way things really are. And, one of those factors is black music. I don't think black music and black music culture has ever been reflected in a mainstream way in the city. If you look at Matthew Street, you compare it to that. If that's the equivalent, 300,000 people over a weekend, whatever Matthew Street was, black music and black music culture was never part of that. It's never been part of the history. A couple of exhibitions have referred to it, but not in the way I suppose that Limp did. So I think it's critical that obviously when Limp started, it was predominantly free. It wasn't all free, but it was important that it reflected what's really going on, and obviously a more of a rounded, holistic view of music and music culture in the city, definitely.
How important is it that we keep like our fingers on the pulse with this, and when it comes to, we do have an involvement in the city and we do give back, or we do, you know, actively want to encourage others to celebrate, like how important is it that the city then start making some open changes?
I think the city has to make changes fundamentally. You know, the challenge is always, do they know how, and are they speaking to the right people? I think a lot of times the wrong people around the table. It's like, again, what Ale said before. I suppose if you're not in that conversation, you've either got to build your own thing, which, you know, again, Janice and myself did at the very beginning. We just kind of built our own stuff until people were willing to listen, which is one way to do it. Or the other one is to kind of get around those tables and make sure you're involved in the conversation. So it's critical that this situation now leads to more dialogue. The fact that people are talking, and a lot of people who weren't interested before, or weren't aware, or weren't feeling like it was relevant to them, are now aware. I think we've got an opportunity. Again, it's got to be in the right people's hands, because, you know, I assume that a lot of people who are speaking to leaders are, again, you know, history teaches us everything, maybe out for themselves or out for their position, and the trickle down may not be, you know what I mean? But also I think we've got to look, you know, everyone on this call, I think the radius of where we all live compared to where people perceive us living would show that, you know, black culture is, you know, we're talking about the combined authority in Liverpool now, 1.5 million people. We're not talking about 475,000 people within the city of Liverpool. So I think our thinking has got to reflect that as well. We've got to be thinking about the kids in Sefton and Halton and St. Helens, and the opportunity that you know, that comes from that. And Dominique with the Anthony Walker Foundation, obviously, for you were way ahead on that. Do you know what I mean? You were doing work in with the other councils way before it was a thing. But I think now we have got to think.
I've grown up. I was born in Toxteth and raised in Wavertree. I'm a mixed race person, but I've always been perceived from the outside looking in as white. I've always said to people I'm as much black as I am white, with a mixed race between me mother being black and my father being white, as everyone knows. I mean, I don't know what part of the North End you was raised. You must be tough, brother. I'm telling you that, because I used to train in the North End, and I was going there. Let's just say I've been fighting 20 years. So 10, 15 years ago, when I was getting 2 buses to go to Rotunda, because that was looked at as the best boxing gym in the whole of the city. This had the greatest training in my opinion I've ever come across. Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell, mate.
So I used to get the bus up to there. Now, I remember still first going in to this day, and I turned up in a velour tracksuit with 2 diamond earrings in one ear, a big chain with a load of diamonds on the cross on the other. By the way, it was black, the chain, but it looked the part. Me and Neil both had matching chains and earrings. With rap music on coming so loud out my headphones, and these must have thought it's Eminem who's turned up. For years, they must have just thought I wanted to be a rapper. It was only the first time my mother came and picked me up that they realised, Jesus Christ, he's actually got some colour in him. He's actually might be black. So, and then you realise why I used to give so many hidings out in sparring. And every time I'd spar, I used to be like a fight, because I would listen to these people in the dressing rooms. And it was only after many years of listening to the nonsense and the disgusting things that they would say, that once they realised who I was and where I was from and what I was doing, that I would then pull them up. When I first used to hear the words coming out, I never used to say it. I used to just think, no problem, I'll let it come in one ear, but you're going to pay for it when you have to get in the ring later on. You're going to wonder why I'm smashing away at your face. So I've experienced things like that, and from both ends of the city. Being an Everton fan, I've been at season ticket after season ticket for many years. I've been in the ground and watched fans of our own racially abuse our own players, Granit Xhaka, and that's made me furious once again. And so I'm from a different spectrum. You guys have had it, some of you straight to your face. I've also been a parent when that's been done to my mother. But as the city collectively over the years, what I will say is it's drastically changed, Janice. I wouldn't say it's eradicated completely. No, it's not. That's a lie. That is, racism is always going to, in my opinion, is always going to exist in my lifetime. I believe racism will die with the next generation. I'd like to believe that, because I would like to believe the parenting that's coming across now is teaching that there is equal rights, and I'm hoping that the kids of today now, the young generation, don't see colour anymore. They don't see that, because in my opinion, racism is taught. It's not, but you're not born racist. It's passed on through generations of families. It's passed on through relatives. It's passed on through loved ones, and that's what I would hope to see. I think I'm seeing it now, because a lot of kids just don't care anymore. A lot of the young kids, but me being supported from the city, it's been brilliant at times. As I say, and I'm able to cross so many barriers. I'm able to go up the North End because I know everybody in the North End. I'm able to come back home to the South End of the city, and I get everyone there because I've grown up with them. So I've been very fortunate to come from being both ends for large parts of my life. Growing up in Rotunda, I'm boxing for that gym, boxing for my country, going around the world. I've experienced it, and when I look back now, it only allows me to see that yes, things are changing, but are they changed enough? Still not even now, no, because the opportunities down my end of the city where I'm from, the south of Liverpool, is a lot less than what's up in the north end of the city. And the simple example I will make of this is, when it comes to my sport, boxing, there must be, I could reel off 20 gyms in the north end of the city. In the south end of the city, when boxing, amateur boxing was at its peak, and this is when I was winning an ABA title, boxing for my country, going all around the world, there was 2 amateur boxing gyms in the city. One of them's even gone now. I think it was Long Lane ABC. Jason Osu, rest of soul. Jason used to box for them. And then there was the Golden Gloves. Now that's only in boxing. Now I can only imagine when you go up the north end of the city and then start seeing how many football places there's to play football. We used to jam on at Picton Park, the Astro, Tocky Astro with Neil and his dad sometimes. There was just so many more opportunities, and people will say, you're jumping on a bandwagon and stuff like that. I'm not jumping on any bandwagon here. I'm just stating facts. That's the way it was. There must have been 30 boxing gyms in the north end of the city. So, report off the city, but I just want to point out the things that I think they are doing and what they aren't doing. There is so many things that our area and our community, and not just in Liverpool, let's touch, like Yaz just said, the likes of St Helens, the likes of Widnes, all these places in the Merseyside area. We can touch so many different people. There's so many different people on this call from so many different parts of, whether it's sport, whether it's just in the communities. We have people from music. You've got Dominique, and Dominique will have touched so many different places in the likes of Parliament alone, people that she's met in politics or whatever have you. All these people, believe it or not, I know there's a lot of bad people in the world who just don't give a shit about us in the area and where we go up in, but there is also quite a lot of good people in there who does care, but they haven't got the resources and the power to actually want to help us. If the right amount of people come together and believe it, when everyone comes together, that's when we will see change. I genuinely believe that, and it's them kind of things that's going to open doors and opportunities to all of us. Jobs that I had when I was aspiring to become a world champion, so every job I've had was just part and parcel of the goal of one day making it to be a world champion boxer. Every job, from that, one of the badges I think was the council. I was working as a trainee accountant in Liverpool City Council on the elite scholarship program. I was one of the first to jump on it. Well, I was the first ever person from the south end of Liverpool to get on it, because once again, another example is when the elite scholarship program was formed, I was in Rotunda ABC, and one of the main heads of Liverpool City Council, his name was David McElhenney. He was one of the people who sorted it out, and Paul King. Now, me being from the south end, every other participant who took part in the elite scholarship program was from the north end, and taking part in that, I mean, there was Perko, there was Selkirk, there was Stephen Smith, David Price. All them chose their own ways. I mean, I'm not going to lie, the only reason I chose accountancy is because I just thought that's going to be about counting money. That's all I thought, to be totally honest. I only found out to start doing algebra and shit like that. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah, makes sense.
For me, the boxing worked out, to be honest, so I was quite lucky. But
no, I remember, and I remember being made up, and I still speak to the kids. So obviously, I've got a picture of you and me in my office. When the kids come in, I always tell them about what you did, the work in the city council and all that. It's important for them to know that you didn't just suddenly wake up one morning, you were the world champion. A lot of stuff goes in behind that. If the city council, he was the boxing development officer, wasn't he, Paul King?
Yeah.
And if people like that can come together for elite boxers, why can't they do it for races? that are underrepresented in them areas. So if we can do it for our elite boxers, why can't we do it for our kids on the street? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not knocking that program because it was brilliant, but that's the kind of thing that we need. Positive action. We need positive action.
Sport is a fantastic thing that brings us all together. And I think the best thing that was said before was it's better that you don't have to become a professional footballer for it to have made it. That's been a great way to like, I didn't think I was going to be a professional world champion straight away. I was trying to make it as a footballer, mate, till I was about 14, 15, genuinely thinking I'm going to be the next Duncan Ferguson at some point. But I just realised I wasn't that good and I wasn't that quick. So, but it's still, football alone still played a massive part in my life. Even when I was on the road to becoming a professional, it played such a pivotal role in my life. Them youth centres, without them youth centres, I would absolutely guarantee I would have gone down the wrong path. Me and Neil have had friends who some are doing life in jail now, who we've grown up with in that Rodney. Some people are even dead, who we've grown up with. And it's the ones who were there and thereabouts that they just went down the path. We chose to stick with the sports and the football. So I'm not saying you have to make it as a professional. You don't. I didn't. It's not in the football world, but it helped me use the time and stuff like that. So it was just, these things are massive things that need looking at. As I say, community centres for me is just such a vital part to help kids growing up, because it's so easy now for kids to just sit their ass on a PlayStation all day. Me and Neil put videos out the other day through our social media platforms, and it was Boateng, the professional footballer. And he just said it's so hard for kids to be great these days. He's saying it's so much harder because years ago we didn't have the PlayStations. I swear, we woke up and we played football till it went dark. I mean, it didn't. That's what we went to the park. We sat and we just done things. I mean, it's so tough for the kid in the modern day, as that Boateng said. He says, how can a child wake up today and go, I'm going to go for a run to get a little bit fitter, and his mate goes, fancy a game on the PlayStation? And it's so easy for that boy to go, you know what, it's I'm not going to lie, it's much better playing a game of FIFA than it is going for the 3, 4, 5 mile run. And it's much easier as well. And this is the things that he's touching on. And it's just, there's so many things that kids need help with these days, and there's no one out there to help them. Once again, we talked on leaders before. There was a lot more leaders back in the day, because there was no fear if some of them got it wrong. Everything today is based on social media and a falseness of everything looking great and being great and superb. I mean, I hate social media, if the truth be known. Social media is basically a highlight reel that is false of everybody's life. Because no one puts on, like, I can put on the greatest moments of my career and my life on social media, and people will think literally, oh my God, this guy's never had a hard day in his life and it's just been success after success. But no one puts on social media when I was broke and I had a mortgage to pay, but my left hand was snapped and I couldn't fight for 5 months and I never had a pot to piss in. I don't put on social media when my kid's shitty nappy is all over the room, screaming all over the house. All as they see is the family picture at the end and everyone's smiling happy. No one is going to I'm not putting on my first ever car, my Rover 215 that only the pushing, that you can put vegetable oil in and it go. Everyone sees the car you're driving now, and no one sees, the Casio that you was pushing back in the day. The other one wants to see the Rolex. It's a hard, social media is a massive problem in today's society and kids. I really do believe that. Everybody is paying attention to everybody's highlights instead of paying attention to actual real life instance, real life things that can help, looking at the journey that they've took to get there. Mm-hmm. No one wants to take part in the journey.
I was just going to ask a question to all of you, really, in your professions, and it's something that I think about a lot. A lot of people characterize racism or prejudice as some of the stuff we are seeing daily through, well, I'm not on social media, so I can't say through our feeds, but through the news. So people getting arrested, people getting shot, people getting abused, and that all happens, definitely all happens. In your spaces when you're trying to move forward and make a change, and do you feel that racism and that prejudice is a hurdle that is insurmountable? Because we talk about some stuff that we can do on the ground, and a lot of us are trying to make sure that the young kid feels inspired and they can do different things. But is the reality of it, a lot of energy, goes to trying to actually infiltrate this hierarchy space where once you break through, you can change things. But fight on the streets, so to speak, is it more important? I just want everyone's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think for me, obviously, at the point I'm at in my career, like Ale said before, I'm under no illusion that my race is going to have an effect. And that's not to say that the people who are going to hire me are racist or anything like that. That's just a fact. The stats don't lie. I think these two black managers and who are above championship level at this moment in time, being vocal and shouting out on your social media, and it's always good to see people uniting and stuff. But I think we also have to do it in a smart way. So, like you just said there, Andy put on his Twitter the other day about these two types of people: these good people and these bad people. Doesn't matter what race you are. Now, that doesn't mean act the way they want you to, because you all know me. I'll act the way I am. Do you mean?
In what you're saying, there's a fundamental truth, I think, to what you're saying, and I think you are right in the sense that every black person, whether you're black, mixed race, whether whatever your cultural background is, just wants to be given a fair opportunity.
Yeah.
You just want to be given, and you want it to be fair, and you want it to be equitable. You want to be able to obviously do your best and be given the space to be able to perform in whatever field that it is in. I think it's not racist to basically see people's difference. I think we get caught up in relation to that.
Exactly.
That's not what is discriminatory. What is discriminatory is when you obviously attribute that blackness as a negative, and you start to think up stereotypes, and you have all types, and people have all types of imaginative thoughts in relation to yourself without even getting to know you. And that's the things I think that we have to obviously teach the young people today. I think for me, and everything in relation to race, we're socially conditioned to pretend that these differences don't exist when they do. And I think it's fine to say, you know what, I'm black and I'm proud, and I think it's fine to say that Black Lives Matter. I don't see what the issue is. I think for me the issue is people almost counteracting that, and we're talking about fundamental human rights, and I think this is some of the things that you're talking about. Now, for me, as raised with two Jamaican parents, excellence was something that run through everything that we did, regardless of if you were going to be a teacher, whether you were going to be a nurse, or whatever it was that you were going to be. But I think if we go back, obviously, to race, I think if we get an understanding, obviously us as black people, an understanding of how racism operates in society, how it navigates in society, and what things and sort of norms, cultural norms that we've been told that we must almost adhere to. As long as we have an understanding of them and understand that, in a lot of ways we are different because we've been raised different, our culture is different, I think as long as we have an understanding of that, I can't see where sort of the issue would come for us, and obviously for your kids and so on and so forth. There's sort of no neutrality in racism. You're either racist or you're anti-racist. I don't see there being no in-between. So I'm quite clear on that whenever I do any of the talks that I do. It's and although those identities are not fixed, and they can change, and we can be anti-black sometimes, and we can be, do you know what I mean? Those things can change. I think we have to have an understanding about race. I think if we have that understanding first and we're able to articulate, and it's not our job to tell everybody, it's not. I'm not at the stage where I'm going to ask the council for these things. I'm just going to go and do it. So that's what I did with the Anthony Walker Foundation. I just thought, you know what, if you don't want to give me the money, I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm going to go and get the money by any means necessary to help and support black and brown people in this city. I think it's Audre Lorde who says revolution's not a one-time event. So shit like this that we're dealing with now, this happened a couple of years ago with Philando Castile. This happened with our Anthony 15 years ago, with Stephen Lawrence 25 years ago or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So we've dealt with race and policing and law enforcement and policing for as long as we can remember. So I think what we have to do now is be strategic, similar to what Yao said and what Neil was alluding to, because I think Neil's got the ideal, and what he's talking about is where we're all treated fairly, and sound like, because that's what we want. We do focus a lot on L8 because most of us have lived there and have some form of connection. Like you were talking about the rods and stuff before. My mum used to do the play project in the summer and used to take us, and like you were saying before, A lot of the kids that I went with are either in prison or dead, a lot of them. And if obviously I link it to today, I joined the police and was in the police for 11 years and then left in April. And I sort of felt, because of what happened to our auntie, that our Anthony, is that I had a duty to try and protect everybody. Because I didn't do my job as an older sister, I felt, you know what, I'm going to go and try and save everybody. I want to lock up all the racists. I want to do all kinds and protect everybody. But then I realised, no, I can't. I don't have big enough shoulders to do that. And I needed to be part of a collective to actually do that work. And also that some of the work that I was doing, I felt community organisations should have been doing that. So that's why the Anthony Walker Foundation has a hate crime service to almost eventually take that stuff from the police and say, listen, we should be doing that as the community, supporting our own communities when they're suffering what they're going through. So I think the stuff with George, for me, it's cyclical. So it's come round again. And I've got all kinds of requests and speaking engagements from now till going into August. And I'm like, you know what, I've got the Goddess Project with Black women and women of colour. And we've got about 45 girls there that we do stuff with. We've got the Anthony Walker Foundation where we're in schools all over Merseyside. We don't just do Liverpool because the need is everywhere. And for me, in Huyton, Kirkdale, Everton, Anfield. Do you know what I mean? When I go to those areas and I speak to those kids, I've lived an experience and I've lived experiences. And what I have to do then is teach them how to overcome everyday racism, how to deal with microaggressions, how to deal with prejudice, how to have their own focused and centered identities in themselves. I think we're looking for leaders, but I think we are it. And so I think we've just got to, I think we have enough credibility between ourselves.
Explain to us how it feels to be really readdressing those emotions, those feelings 15 years on from now. Have you seen, or do you think nothing's changed? Does it make you feel deflated completely that we're not moving forward? Because the result is there's black men dying out there still.
For me, I always focus on the family. So we focus on George, but we don't think about his mum and his sister and his aunties and everybody who's left to rebuild after he's gone, his daughter. And I think that's where and I think someone said it takes a village to raise a family. In terms of Anthony at the moment, and I'll be completely honest with you, I'm dealing with parole for one of them. So my focus is primarily between maintaining a definitive control of all the organisations that I run, and then organising and trying to strategise or trying to get him from coming out, which again is not within my hands because criminal justice system does what it wants. You know what I mean? When I talk to black people about loss, I'm like, you know, I said it might not have been in as traumatic a ways as mine, where he was walking with his bird, but you know what loss is as a black person. You get what I'm talking about. You understand what it's like to have things taken away from you. For me, it's highly traumatic, if I'm completely honest. But it only spurs me on to do more work because I've got to protect my kids. That's it for me now. I've got a 15-year-old and I've got a 7-year-old, 2 girls. I've got to protect them, or do as much as I can to protect them. Because my kids will never experience anything I went through in Huyton. Never. Not as long as I'm alive. My story can be quite harrowing for people. I'm just like, it is what it is. But I'm telling you, most black people have got similar stories. That's all I'm saying. So I think we've got to be quite real in what it is that we're doing, how we're going to take things forward.
Yeah. I don't think the media done enough for you, Dominique, to be honest, and your family regarding the case of your brother, because if he's trying to go for parole now, and he's got any chance of possibly getting out, then I know that the boy who killed Reece Jones is going for parole now, and this is why they've just put on the TV of the case all over again, that little boy Blue. Now, your brother was brutally murdered. Why isn't that being brought up? Why aren't these in the media now? Why aren't they saying in the media? The media should be reporting now these guys are going for parole. And the first time I've heard of this is off you. We shouldn't be hearing for the first time of you. The media should be picking these things up. But once again, as everyone's touched, it is systemic racism at the high levels, and it's within the media, massively within the media. Now, other people won't say it, I wouldn't expect my mates to come out and say it in this group because then they will aim for him. But you just look how people are perceived in the media, and it disgusts me. I'd say it openly. Look at how Raheem Sterling has been absolutely abused in the media. he buys his mother a house, and all of a sudden it's a bad thing that he buys his mother a house. Why is it a bad thing? The boy's got made a fortune. He wants to look after his mother.
That's why I asked the question, because I was like, is that where the bigger fight needs to be? Because you think about the media,
you can't get rid of it, yo.
What they do
at that level, it's never gonna go. And my only thing with touching on this is that will only go with the youth, in my opinion. That the next generation can get rid of that, and it pisses me off and infuriates me. Like, I can't believe that we haven't heard that piece of shit is going off for parole. That infuriates me. But I know without a shadow, without Reece Jones's killers are also up for parole as well, and they're trying their best to fight. They're not going nowhere. But why isn't your brother being covered? You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that need to be touched on. My social media, if I go out on social media and put it out there, believe you me, the backlash of the force of that alone now.
It's like you said, it's all tied in, because you can't even say nothing as a black person now, or everyone jumps on you if you're at any position. Like you said, you did. If you go and say something, automatically you're becoming a big Black Lives Matter.
I'm against it. Love to take on for you as men. So love for you to take on Ashley Walters, because he didn't turn around and make his presence known, and then he done a video breaking down, crying. We shouldn't be. Yeah. And that's heartbreaking to see. You know, he's saying, I've lived it. I've been left for dead at 15. How dare you tell me how I should be reacting to this on social media?
That was what I was saying before. Like, people will jump on him saying he's not doing this and he's not doing that, but not realising that he's been writing movies. He's been opening doors for so many people. He's doing it just because you're not hearing, and he's not screaming and shouting about it. He's doing it because how many people has he got in people's movies? Has he inspired?
People think if it ain't on social media, it hasn't really happened. Exactly. It's like, it's crazy. Exactly. If you didn't put it on Instagram, it didn't happen. That's how the world has become now. If you don't put it on Twitter,
you get no credit.
If you were a footballer, you would have been something.
No, like you said, obviously, once again, it's a big stereotypical thing, isn't it? That black men don't raise the kids and stuff like that, which is every race has men that don't raise the kids. Simple fact, you know what I mean? So I don't look at it and think, whoa, wow, I should give him a badge for that. Do you know what I mean? And he doesn't look wanting for a badge. Do you know what I mean? Because he just did what he wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? And that was be there for his son, raise his son properly, disciplined me, made me come in when I was supposed to come in, taught me how to respect people. If I ever got too cheeky, he'd let me know. He'd give me the death stare. Do you know what I mean? It was like you knew what time it was. I remember, like, Tony and that used to call him respect the man, because they knew what time it was.
I love Big Neil, but don't play with Big Neil. Everybody looked up to Neil's dad.
Yeah, but like you say, the thing was, like, the main thing for me was, I was never scared of me dad. It was never anything like that. It's because my parents had instilled with me morals. Do you know what I mean? And it almost like I knew when I was in the wrong. Do you know what I mean? And that came from the way he raised me. Do you know what I mean? And for me, like, black men don't get enough credit. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got to, the way I look at it as well is, for black men that it did happen to and couldn't be there to raise their kids, you've got to look at the system. The system put them in that sort of, they didn't have opportunities. They were just go on the streets because there wasn't no job opportunity there. So for me, I can never sit here and judge anyone, because at the end of the day, I was fortunate enough to be in a time where it wasn't as bad as the time before. And the next generation will be fortunate enough to be in a time where it wasn't as bad before. And as long as we keep moving forward, that out of all this, we have to keep moving forward, and we have to keep making changes. And everything that's happening now, do you know what I mean? It's all adding up to, hopefully, might be generations, but we're all playing our part. Even these little chats now, they're all playing, like, in the big scale of everything that's going to happen. We're all adding our little bit, do you know what I mean? And that's why, for me, it's been amazing being involved in this, because, like I say, without these conversations, nothing does happen. we make 0.001% of change, it's still change. And all them 0.1s, what everyone's doing and everyone's talking now, will all add up. And I think that's the biggest thing that is coming from this now.
Collectively coming together, that's the most important thing. Collectively putting ideas together, each other. No one's a genius. No one knows it all. No one knows the exact right way to go about this. But everybody coming together will figure out a solution in the end of a way of tackling these things. As I said, I mean, I wrote something on my social media the other day, and you know, no one sent me nothing. No one told me to write it, and I think I put something like, I'm sick of certain TV shows being pulled off and stuff like that. You can't rewrite the past. You can't rewrite history. It's been and gone. The one thing you can do is learn from it. And if people are going to learn from past actions and past things that have gone on, the world can only be a better place going forward. As I say, we all wish we could go back in time. Everybody wish we could go back in time and change things, but we can't. But the one thing we can change is how things are perceived and how things are done going forward. And that is a massive thing in my eyes. As I say, collectively, it needs to happen on a whole demographically. Groups need to come together. People need to speak about it. Like, no one wants to open their mouth about racism these days because everyone's like, it's a touchy subject. You know what? It's not. It's just not. Just say what you think, and I'll tell you if you're racist or not. It's not a touchy subject at all. It's just I don't get why people say that. Oh, you can't say this. Oh, you can't say that. Well, you can't say it, and I'll fucking tell you if it's racist or not. It's simple. So, and I think deep down, people know when they're being racist. The reason why they say it's touchy subject is because they don't want to be called racist, because they actually know deep down it's in them. But that's why you say to them, just say it then. You deep down, you know. Everybody in this world knows it's like right from wrong.
It's like what you said with the TV programs and stuff like that. Everyone who watches programs like Little Britain, it's mocking the older generations. Do you know what I mean? Because they make fun of all races. So it might be someone Welsh, might be someone. It's not just black people. It's not just Thingo. And I think it is sometimes important to ridicule how bad it looked, because that's a part of growing and learning.
My little brother is black and gay. So that show, it must insult him in every single way, but I guarantee you, he pisses himself laughing at it. So he's young, he's black, and he's gay. I mean, that show couldn't infuriate anyone more than him. But it like Neil just said, it makes a mockery of how we were looked at back then. But I won't lie, there is some shows that do go too far. I mean, I never knew about a show called Love Thy Neighbour. It's like, remember years ago when you'd see Indians and cowboys, right? And this shit was like that, but on a street level in like fucking Bradford, wherever it was shot. It was crazy. But then there's other shows. I mean, how far are we going to go? I mean, I love nothing more than watching Coming to America. I mean, and then another idiot said, well, we've got to drag white chicks down because that's it. And I was like, I think people have completely missed the boat here. They've started going on and they're making it black and white. It's not black and white.
That's the thing. I think right now it's like by the BBC pulling things off iPlayer, by Netflix. That's not what we're asking. It infuriates other people, and then everyone gets backlash because of it.
We want to create a divide.
Yeah, you can't make your mind up. You don't know if you want to be black, or do you want to be coloured, or do you want to be offcast, or do you want to... you can't say blackboard, you can't say black sheep, you can't... you know what? I'm fed up with trying to keep up with them. Leave them where they are. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Get out of our country. That's what they're trying to create with the media when they do all that.
Yeah,
it's exactly what they're looking for.
It's just a distraction.
Exactly.
Distraction, isn't it? Just a complete distraction.
We'll struggle to find the next leader when, like you said, you can go 24 hours on social media posting things, or you can play on a video game for 24 hours. And they are all distractions, like drugs were put into America in black communities way back. It's just a subtler, cleverer way of keeping down, not just black people, but working classes. Throw everything in there that you haven't got their eye on what we're doing with them, and keep them distracted and do exactly what we want. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of them theorists or anything like that, you know what I mean? But don't get too deep with it because it drives you crazy. But I do. Like,
if any of you have ever been in a studio, if any of you have ever been working on a production, you'll see there's very few people of colour at all. So those glass ceilings for me, I'm at that point in my career where I'm a producer, and I now choose what I'm going to work on, because I'm not prepared to take assistant producer's role, because I know that I deserve the producer's role. And if I don't get those producer's role, I sit there and I think to myself, why don't I get it? I need to work harder. I need to know this. I need to do this. And then when I still don't get it, after I've done all those things, I start to hate myself, because I don't feel that I'm good enough to be there. I come from a background where I am around people who are successful, so I can have conversations and lift myself back up. But, you know, for people who don't always have that support, they do give up, and then they fall behind, or they have to live with thinking that they don't deserve being in that position. And I'm sure that's in the TV industry. I'm sure that's across the board, that at some point, if any successful person does not feel like as if they fail because they struggle to achieve, and I'm sorry, us being black people, we face that, and it hurts.
The glass ceilings are definitely there. Like Earl said, he's got through them. Like, you've got to remember that there's always cracks in glass, and the thing is, it's important that the people that do get through them cracks, then they just make the cracks bigger. Do you know what I mean? And then start letting people in, because that's the only way it can happen. Because, like I say, we all know that the ceilings are there, but there's more cracks appearing constantly. And the more that we keep changing and keep doing it, the cracks are going to open, and eventually it's just going to shatter. And that's just the way it'll happen.
But I think it's important for people to realise that even though we may all be in a good position or have jobs, we still face those same issues. They're the same no matter where, because people will look at all us and go, "You're doing okay." It's natural to always want to aspire and to achieve more and more. There's still those levels within your ream that you have to conquer and smash those glass ceilings.
That's it.
No, I agree, Janice.
The thing is, where do we start?
So
now you could open so many doors with your connections, with the people you know. With music today is probably the only thing bigger than music is football. Music is the biggest platform the world has next to football, after football. So you have so much opportunity.
I just want to contribute. Do you know what I mean? And are we doing enough? You know, based on what you've seen, do you know what I mean? Could we be doing?
Saying no.
I have that. I have that. You know,
not definitely, because I'd put my hands up and say I'd definitely be one of the first to say that I'm not, and I'm glad that all this has happened. Do you know what I mean? Because, like you said, it just brings these conversations, and it does make you look yourself in the mirror. And like you said before, we've all got our things going on within whatever we do in that, but it doesn't take much to just contribute. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that I can definitely take from this, and like, we're glad that we've had the conversation.
Slowly, it's just that our country is so much different to America, because in America it's so blatantly in your face. And being over in America, in Philadelphia, living there and making the movie, I realised that. I mean, I watched a police officer in America, and my friend said, "Can you take a picture of us?" It was me, Sly, a couple of other people from the movie, and the policeman. And the policeman asked for the picture. My friend asked for this guy to take a picture. So my friend, who was with us, gave his phone to a guy, and he gave the phone to a stranger he didn't know the street. Said, "Can you take a picture of all of us?" As he gave his phone to the guy took the picture. The policeman said to my friend, "Don't ever give your phone to a guy like that again." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Because usually he would run off with your phone." But he said this in like as if it was no. He said, "But don't worry, I'd have just shot him over him running away with an iPhone. Are you kidding me?" And that's what I'm saying. It is so in your face in America. Over here in our country, it is hidden. And what Yao was touching on about being systemic and being higher up in the hierarchy, I've just touched on it before. Just look at the media. The most powerful news realm in the country, it's hidden. They want to discredit people and discredit certain things. So it's a massive challenge. And can we all make the difference? Absolutely not. Not us on our own, but as we said before, collectively, and coming together with other people from other organisations, from other genders, race. When it's just bring people together to talk about it, because it isn't that hard to talk about.
Exactly.